Hey guys, Chris here, and I'm a Ukrainian Canadian. Today is April 4th, 2025, and let's get to the news and updates happening in Ukraine and the world, shall we? So today I will start with some grim news, and I don't like to start with those, but today is particularly hard because Russia again struck civilian infrastructure in Kryvyi Rih, but this time they decided to strike on purpose a children's playground with a ballistic missile that had cluster munitions inside of it, purposefully knowing that they were hitting a children's playground. Death toll so far has risen to 26, including 6 children. And what you guys are seeing in this image are parents sitting in front of their dead child, lamenting, crying, and asking why. Why our kid? Why was our child targeted? When they were just trying to forget about the war, having fun in the playground, and they were struck with a Russian ballistic missile. Surely a military target, the Russians will say. But this is yet another indication that Russia doesn't seek peace. And it's kind of funny because, or tragic, I should say, not even funny. Tragic in the sense that every time the American delegation, the Russian delegation meets, Russia seems to always strike civilian infrastructure right after, a few hours later or maybe a day later, because this comes right after our Russian delegation went to Washington to visit the Trump administration to discuss peace. And yet the day after, not even a few hours later, they strike a Ukrainian city on purpose with ballistic missiles, killing innocent civilians. And it's another insult and disrespectful actions against Trump by the Putin regime. You know, and Trump continues to claim that there's amazing progress in the process of these peace talks, but every time they seem to meet, it seems like Putin just doubles down and continues striking civilians, more and more sure that he'll get away with it. He's spitting in the face of Trump, and Trump just simply disregards what Putin is doing against innocent civilians in Ukraine. And rather than calling Putin a dictator and an international war criminal, he prefers to stay quiet and blame it on Zelensky and blaming the Ukrainian people that they're the ones who started the war, or they provoked the Russians. And then he goes off and plays golf like he does right now. So let's understand that Russia will never seek peace because their main objective has always been the same since the beginning of this war in 2014. It's been about the complete eradication and destruction of Ukraine's sovereignty and its identity as an independent and sovereign nation. And they will use every tool necessary to continue with their terror against the Ukrainian population. And when they're done, they will continue with other countries in Europe, whether it be the Baltics, Poland, etc. They will not stop. So they must be stopped. And you guys can help with that in the description below by funding Ukrainian drone programs so we can eliminate as many Russian terrorists in Ukraine as possible. Because the only way to stop this is to fully destroy the Russian regime, its military, and eventually we'll deal with all the Russian war crimes in the international criminal courts, hopefully. Now, and you guys can let me know in the comment section, describe Russia in one word. I'm looking forward in reading your comments. The other stupid thing that the Trump administration did a few days ago were these reciprocal tariffs against the entire world. Even an island full of penguins was not spared, and Trump imposed tariffs on that island somewhere in the Pacific. I don't remember exactly where it was, but even our poor penguins could not escape that. An absolutely stupid thing to do. And as you can see, a few days later, the markets in the US and across the world continue to nosedive, continue being in the red. These sweeping tariffs that were imposed by the US, you guys can see this is only one of the multiple lists that Trump has showcased. You know, China gets 34%, European Union gets 20%, Vietnam 46%, Taiwan 32% tariffs, Japan, South Korea, Switzerland, Ukraine got 10%. So the minimum that was imposed was 10%. And there was a study that came out, I think, yesterday that showcased that over 150 countries actually are actually importing a lot of American goods, more than they're actually exporting to the US, meaning that they're purchasing a lot of American goods, and they were also hit with 10%. So even those countries that had, you know, technically no tariffs on the US or no trade deficits, because that's how they calculate it, is on trade deficits between the US and the countries. So even those ones that didn't have that, they actually were buying a lot of American goods and resources, they were also imposed with 10% tariffs. This showcases truly, guys, that the Trump administration has absolutely no plan and doesn't understand whatsoever how the world works. I was at fault. Even in the beginning of this year, you guys knew my position with regards to Ukraine. I thought that Trump could be swayed in the right direction, that some members of his team could lead them in the right trajectory, that there could be some sort of plan, but there's absolutely no plan. And we're seeing the same thing happen with this economic tariff that they're imposing on the entire planet. And again, I need to remind my viewers that trade can only work when you're fostering a win-win relationship, right? I get what I want and you get what you want without any pressure, without being forced to buy the goods of one specific person or country. Because otherwise, you're going to lose that trust. You're going to lose that relationship. I don't want to just exclusively trade with one country. And that goes against all the values that the American society has been fostering, right? Free trade, open markets, working with countries, economically speaking. And Trump is literally doing a complete 180 on that. The US has completely, and I mean it, completely destroyed its reputation in the matter of a few months and is digging a massive economic hole. These are regular Americans. They're going to lose their jobs, millions of them. Their cost of living is going to go through the roof. Already they're saying that the cost of an average car will increase at a minimum right now by $5,000, like Ford, GM, etc. Minimum $5,000. Your price for food will increase. Everything will increase. That goes against everything that Trump was talking about during the elections, that he wanted to reduce the cost of living, reduce inflation, bring back more jobs. And here he says that we'll give it's a 2-year process. When he was asked by a reporter, how long will it take to get the industry where he wants it to see it? I don't even think he knows, how long 2 years is, because our company is really ready to go through a 2-year period of being in the red and in the negative and, running losses for 2 years. It's catastrophic. And even if it was to end by the end of this week, the damage that Trump has done on the economy will be so massive, the trust is gone, right? And even our prime minister in Canada, for now, Mark Carney, said that the relationship with the US has changed forever. We're never going back in the same relationship. Yes, we're willing to work with the US. We're hopeful that the US will come back to a more sound, stable state. But forget about this sort of we're friends and friends forever, we're going to work together. That is gone. And we'll always know that there's always the possibility of the United States and its government backstabbing their allies. And that is the biggest catastrophe in all of this story. And so as you can see, guys, whether it be on the issue of the economy or Ukraine, Trump has absolutely no plan. And he allows dictators to play him like an idiot because he is one. And it's unfortunate because we could have been in a much different position right now if it was a completely different administration in the United States. This was not my bingo card whatsoever to be in this type of situation. I think that millions of people, billions of people would never have expected to be in this type of situation even a year ago. Well, here we are, guys. So let's stick together. Canada, Europe, many other Western democracies, we gotta be even more closer than ever before. And I'm very optimistic with what we can achieve. If there is a silver lining behind all of this, is that this will force countries, especially in Europe, to become more independent, more autonomous, and be less paralyzed by what the US does or doesn't do. This gives us a lot more maneuverability and room for independence. As the US is leaving this kind of global world sheriff or world superpower that, can mediate and manage wars, economies, etc. We're seeing that this is really falling off a cliff very quickly, but there is also reasons to be optimistic about it as well for all the other Western countries in the world. So with all that, guys, I hope you enjoy my update. Again, please donate to the Ukrainian drone program. I'll have a few links below where you can donate towards. And let's not forget that Russia does not seek peace. Russia only seeks more terror and the total destruction of Ukraine. And we can never forget that. And thoughts and prayers to all the parents that have lost a loved one in Kryvyi Rih today. It's heartbreaking, and I have, it makes me so angry and disappointed at, the situation. But we need to continue fighting, because that's what Russia wants. They want us to give up and, you know, and say, okay, we're done. But we cannot do that. Thank you so much. Slava Ukraini.